All right, next I thought I would talk a little bit about, what I've been watching, mainly movies. So I like to call this segment NicFlix and Chill. Yeah. All right. So first off, I rewatched Sonic. That was on Amazon Prime. So if you have Amazon Prime, it's free essentially. So that was nice. I think I said it before in our last segment that Sonic is probably one of the best like video game movies out there. So it it's not great like if as a movie by itself, it's not like a masterpiece by all means, but it's a great movie and I absolutely think that they did a good job. I hope personally, other than video games just becoming series and so we don't have to compact them all into, but if we are going to continue with movies and video games, I hope that Sonic is now the benchmark. Monster Hunter just came out not too long ago. I haven't heard awesome things about it, but at the same time that would have obviously been in production well before Sonic, so I hope that after Sonic there is a new benchmark of what is good and what is acceptable, and so therefore we will not have horrible video game movies anymore. Then I rewatched. It's been a while since I seen this one, Beverly Hill Ninja, with Chris Farley. God rest him. Such a good movie. I mean, I remember like it always makes you feel old when you have to say something like, back in my day, or they don't make movies like they used to, but they really don't. Like, just balls to the wall, weird concepts for movies just don't really get made as often. Like another really good example is like Joe Dirt. It's like they made a Joe Dirt like years later, and it didn't work as well. And even if they tried to do like a Beverly Hills Ninja now, it wouldn't work as well because like part of the charm obviously was Chris Farley himself, but then part of the charm was just back then they just made movies differently. And even though you could argue that this was really just a prolonged SNL sketch or whatever, I do feel like they it was almost like a long running one, like what's a good example? Like on Mad TV, they had Stewart. And if you put all of the Stewart sketches together, it could make a movie or whatever. And essentially, that's what Beverly Hills Ninja is, but I still feel like it's a good movie. Then we started Seventh Son. That's really interesting because it's almost like Supernatural, but back in the medieval times. I wish this would have been received well enough to be like a franchise, because I want to say this came out right around when like Game of Thrones was getting big, and it had Jeff Bridges. Like, oh my god! But it's basically about what they call spooks in the medieval area, and they are going around rounding up mystical creatures, and killing the ones that need to be killed or capturing ones that need to be captured. And this was such an interesting concept for that time, because I feel like with something like Supernatural, I love Supernatural. 15 whole seasons, really good. I feel like with that, we've seen that plenty of times. And so seeing kind of the same concept where they're hunting down like mythical creatures, but in medieval times or whatever, is just a really interesting twist on it. And I really wish this would have been a franchise because I just feel like it was really well done. Jeff Bridges, the reason I laugh when I say Jeff Bridges is because after True Grit, he just started doing this thing where like he has cotton balls in his mouth. Is like, well, let's mosey on down and get the witches. But he's doing it with like all of his characters, even the characters that don't really makes sense to do it. When it's a cowboy or even like an old Western, lawman or something, like it makes sense to have that kind of draw. But when you're supposed to be like back in the medieval ages, I mean, first off, he doesn't really have an accent, even though obviously this is ye old time. So you're supposed to say stuff like, cometh over here and release your garments from your body. You're supposed to say stuff like that, but instead he's just like, yeah, so let's see what goes and happens. And it doesn't fit. So it's like I feel like, was part of the movie's downfall and why it couldn't have been turned into a franchise. But still, it would have been nice if something could have happened there. Then I watched a random ass movie on Amazon Prime. So we're going back to Amazon Prime. The last two movies were both on Netflix, and this one's on Amazon Prime. It's called Cold Skin. So we start with a protagonist. He's on a boat. He's going to a remote island, and he's going there, and there's like a lighthouse. Sounds familiar, right? Like, didn't we already see this with Robert Pattinson and what's his name? Dunks88 says I'm spot on with my my description of Jeff Bridges. Yeah, goddamn right I am. Oh my God, what is his name? So it's The Lighthouse with Robert Pattinson, and you know what? We're gonna Google Magic it right now. We're doing it live. So okay, Lighthouse. Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe. Jesus Christ. I have serious problems with names. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. But anyways, so just the description I've given so far is very familiar. Like, somebody goes on there. But that's pretty much where the similarities end, because there is a crazy guy on the island and the new guy's like, what the heck? But that's the similarities of The Lighthouse and Cold Skin, because from there it turns into this like monster flick. So basically what lives on this island are, I guess almost like a mermaid, but they can go onto land and they can walk on land or something. Like they even have gills like right here and then like right here on their cheeks. So they are amphibian in a way. And even like their legs, when they jump into water, they can have like flaps come out of their skin. So it's almost like a big fin that you would swim with, right? But anyways, like he gets to this island and, there's an old dude and he's grizzled and he's clearly gone through some shit. And then all of a sudden he's sleeping one night and he hears, and they're trying to get into his hut. And so he has to go down into the cellar to survive or whatever. And then the next night he just like keeps shooting them. Eventually he tries to get into the lighthouse with the other guy. And eventually they band together and they survive together. And the whole movie is just really weird. It's not ever really clear what's going on with the protagonist and the lighthouse guy either, but more so like he was our kind of anchor at the very beginning of the movie, but we really don't get a full backstory as to why. We know he's trying to escape something, but it's like, why are you doing this? And then like I'm gonna give spoilers because it's if you want to go see it, but and then there's even a part in the movie where like the boats come back and he kind of almost acts like he doesn't want to leave, and it's probably because of isolationism or what, some kind of isolation sickness or something, where he's just not used to people anymore. But still, it's just like the whole movie is so weird because the lighthouse guy is basically doing one of the cold skinned people's that he is treating like a dog, and so he's doing that person. Then at one point, it's heavily implied that the new guy, the protagonist, has sex with her, and then later on she shows up with a little baby, and it's like, okay, are you saying that like that's his kid or whatever? And the whole thing, like, it was a good movie, but it was just so weird, and it wasn't like weird in like an artistic way. Like, Lighthouse is super weird. The Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe. I got it that time, only because I looked at the corner of my eye, but it still counts. That one was weird in a very artistic way, because I mean, you have tons of things on YouTube talking about like Poseidon and like all these weird things, right? But this was weird and it was just weird. Like, when you're weird in an artistic way, like The Lighthouse, I feel like it makes people think about your film long after it's done, because they're trying to figure out the symbolism, the blah blah, all that, and people can make video after video about it. But when you're just weird because it's just kind of weird, like, there really wasn't anything artistic about it. It was just a weird. The story was weird. It was just kind of, after a point, it's just about survival, and I don't know, just weird. I'm sorry, I can't think of another word there. But yeah. So that's what I've been watching on Netflix. So if you guys want to check them out, once again, Sonic and Cold Skin are both on Amazon Prime. So if you have Amazon, you can get it free there. Beverly Hill Ninja and Seventh Son are on Netflix. So if you guys want to rewatch those or watch it for the first time, if you've never seen Beverly Hill Ninja, I feel like it's definitely one of those classic comedy movies that just really aren't made nowadays, unless it's sort of by Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler still kind of does movies like that, but even so, it's Adam Sandler. So you either like Adam Sandler or you don't. So I personally do, but you either like him or you don't like him. That's the end of it. That's the end of this of the conversation. So yeah, if you want to check all that stuff out, that's all for the NicFlix and Chill. Up next, we're going to talk about some of the shows I've been binging and, some stuff like that. So keep a lookout for